Hi traders and welcome to the Technical Analysis Market Watch on Friday the 30th of August. So I've seen an interesting week of consolidation on the indices and real tests of support and resistance on a lot of the major currencies. So we'll jump straight in and see if we can identify any trades for today or early into next week. All right, so we'll start out here with the Aussie USD, and we can see that we've had a real launch at the first level of real resistance, which is around that sort of 67.80 to 68 cent zone. It did go higher. It went all the way up to 68 sort of 20 really, but the secondary resistance hasn't been tested yet, and that level is really above here. You can see there we've got some very heavy resistance at around that 66.80 or 68.80, sorry, and you know, even though we haven't actually launched onto that yet, it's finding trading ability above this 68 cent mark. So if we get daily closes, I think the last two candles that we can see, you can see right through here, this is where the real very heavy resistance is. But if we zoom it right out, you can see that we haven't actually closed above this level yet. It's getting very close and it's trying hard, but it hasn't done it yet. Now look, this candle hasn't closed yet, so there is still a chance that it might actually pick up, but it has attempted to do it twice and has failed at this stage. So unless this candle closes above here today, or even into the next session, I think that we could probably see a little bit of a resistance move from that point down maybe to the 20 moving average. I would be thinking probably that 67.20 to 67.50 marker would be a potential for a bit of a reversal, and then it may relaunch onto the main target. It's difficult to see it not probably getting to that 68 sort of 80 area, but maybe not in this move. So I think if it does reverse a little bit, we haven't seen very many pullbacks here, as you can see, very shallow ones. It may pull back a little bit more and then push up. But if we get a daily close above this level here, then we can start looking at basically joining in the higher high, higher low sequences on a smaller time frame. And if we get that, then we'd be looking at targets around that 68.80. Just because it's here, it doesn't mean it's going to go there though. So just be really careful on only trading what you see. So just look for the market action. And if you see the momentum starting to shift and it looks like it's starting to weaken from this level, there is also pretty strong resistance here. So we've really got to trade what you see. But the main targets are closed above 68, probably 20, and you're going to be looking for moves up to a 68.80 as the target. And if we get a daily close below that 67 sort of 70 area, below this zone here, then I'd be looking for the moving average to be the target at around that low 67 to 67.20 mark. All right, over to the US dollar CAD. And this one's had a week. Look, it was selling off earlier in the week, but it hit very heavy support here, as you can see. We've got a lot of support here at around that 134.50 level. It tried to break through, but then it engulfed above it, and it's trading above it now and holding above that 134 sort of 80 area at the moment. Now, it's been a very big fall. Like, make no mistake, 400 and something pips is a big fall, and it hasn't pulled back at all. So it is due for a pullback. It broke through that support there, which was a roll reversal zone. As you can see, we've got resistance and support. It broke through there in a matter of days with really not even giving a yelp. So when something's falling so heavily, it's very difficult to try and reverse it, and you're better off just leaving it until it actually does. So if we see finally, we've got a little bit of consolidation here, but again, we could sell off tomorrow and it will be the exact same pattern as we've seen there. So for mine, we want to see a series of higher highs and higher lows on a meaningful time frame, like say a 4 hour, perhaps, where we need to see a series of higher highs and higher lows, trading above the 20 moving average. And if we get that, then we can start to target that 136 area as the next main target. So you can see a mini head and shoulders inverse here. You can see the head, shoulder, shoulder. If we get a series of higher highs and higher lows from here on a 4 hour and it's trading above the 20 moving average, that might give us enough momentum to start joining in the longer term move. So keep an eye on those sorts of things. It's the best way to trade when you are looking at finding support, not just jumping on because support is there. We need proof in the smaller time frames, and this is a perfect example of a move in that direction. So hopefully this will give us a higher low sequence to get us out of the inverse head and shoulders, and we can start tracking towards the 136, which is the main target for this one, which is a pretty decent move. As you can see, that will also be the 20 moving average if it gets there in a little bit of a hurry. Failing that, I'm not really interested in the short right now unless it closes below 134.30. If it does that, then we're starting to target the lower levels, but that's a story for another day. US dollar yen is finding consolidation at this level. You can see that we had the sell off at the 20 moving average, which was really good. It's pulled back down to this low here, but it is finding support here. There's no question about that. It's found a week's worth of support where it's consolidated and found its footing. So more than likely, I would be looking for higher high, higher low sequences now up to the 20 moving average in the first instance, and basically that's what we're looking for the long. If we get a close below 143.60, then I'd be looking at targeting the 141.30 as the next marker. But as you can see, it's pretty strong support down there. But this is definitely a level. There's no question about that. It's found support here and it has consolidated. So maybe the selling is over for now, but really it's a case of following the trend on the smaller time frames, and wherever they take us is a pretty easy target. If we start to see lower high, lower lows, and we close below the 143.60 area, we start to look for these lows down here at around the 141. And if we see a higher close higher than that 145.50 area, then we start to aim for the 20 moving average. All scalping here. We're not looking for long-term positions on this one just yet. We're really looking for scalping opportunities to the next support or resistance. So really let the market be the guide. But this week has only been consolidation. So really look for a breakout on that one. All right, dollar index has found support where it really needed to, which is good. It got to the level that we wanted it to, which is great. And then it did push up all the way to 101.50, which of course spelt some weakness in the euro. So we'll jump into the euro in a moment. But as you can see, it had a couple of days of consolidation. Then it did bounce off a very, very important zone. So hopefully you're able to take advantage of that. The waves did continue, the three waves that we talked about, as you can see, all played out perfectly to the line. That's why we always do these waves, because they often replicate in threes, and it didn't let us down this time. So again, I think there's still potential up to the 20 moving average, up to around that 102. If it happens in a hurry, the moving average won't come down very, very fast. And yeah, give us a little bit of room to breathe. But the euro is the one actually you want to be looking at, because obviously it's the one that sold off. Look, it was at a high as it was starting to roll over. You could see that, and hopefully you're able to take advantage of some of that. The 20 moving average was the target, but yeah, really the 110.50 was the target. That's close enough to the target there. 110.50 was what we were talking about. And if you're into the smaller time frames, of course, you would have been able to get in on any of that. You can see that we had the lower high, lower lows once that happened. And even further down to a 15-minute chart, you're going to have many opportunities. Once it started to roll over, which we knew it was at resistance, we talked about it, and obviously the dollar index had support. All of the moving averages that we talk about every day basically played the game. 20 moving average, pullbacks all the way, lower high, lower low sequences. So hopefully you're able to capture some of that move all the way down to the 110.50. Where it goes to from here, look, it might find support at the 20 moving average, but really we've got to let price action dictate what's going on. If we get a close below the 20, so below 110.50, then we'll look for moves back down to around that 109.50. But if it reverses here and we start to see a series of higher highs and higher lows in the smaller time frame, I'd be looking for the previous high as the target, so around that sort of 111.80 on the euro. All right, and finally, the S&P 500, big week of consolidation here, really. We had NVIDIA reporting, so the whole market was waiting on that. Really, yeah, it failed to impress because it was down about 6% for the day after reporting, but the indices didn't really do anything. We saw a little bit of volatility, yes. It certainly tried to go higher, but yeah, if it was waiting for an announcement, really, it was trying to go long, not short, and NVIDIA, failed to impress. So not surprised that this candle is the way it is, and that's a pretty decent swing too. Like you're looking at 55.50 to basically 56.50, nearly 100-point swing for the day. So a very interesting sort of day. You go to a 15-minute chart to really understand what happened, but it was a day of two halves, obviously, and as you can see, it basically tracked up there, doing what we always talk about. Higher high, higher lows, but then came down very, very quickly in the last couple of hours of trading. Now, we've still got another half an hour before the market actually closes, so yeah, it can see a little bit of a rebound here, but we're going into non-farm payroll week next week. This is the last week of the month, but non-farms will be next Friday. So, look, we're probably going to see a little bit of consolidation happen next week. We're probably not going to see a great deal of action unless something untoward comes out that we haven't identified. So I think just sort of play the best way to play the S&P 500 at the moment is to set the boundaries, the 20 moving average around that 55.50 and the high of that range, which is around the 56.50. Probably look for support and resistance in between those 100 points. And look at getting in and out pretty efficiently throughout that move. Hopefully you're able to get some good trades trades this week. We've seen some fantastic opportunities and some really good support and resistance hold up. So hopefully you're able to take advantage of some of that. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.